Happy Thanksgiving, and it's throwback weekend here at footballgameplan.com, where football makes sense. I'm Memory Hunters of the Playbook. Bring you our NFL Week 12 preview between the Oakland Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now let's take a look at some keys to victory for both teams, starting with the Raiders.
When you look at the Raiders in this matchup, you have to understand the importance of what Marcel Reese brings to this offense. He's a versatile guy. He can line up out wide. He could also line up in the backfield as a tailback or a fullback. And you saw last week he was able to rush for over 100 yards and was also the leading receiver. But that has to change this week versus Cincinnati. They have to get the receivers involved. I think the Raiders can have some success throwing the football versus Cincinnati if they go to a 3-by-1 set. 3 wide receivers, tight end, and a tailback in the backfield. If they can do that, I think they can get creative with their formations and take advantage of the short to intermediate passing game. Defensively, the matchup has to be won at the line of scrimmage. You look at their Raiders defensive line and you see a lot of size and talent. More importantly, the size up front does have the advantage over the Cincinnati Bengals. They can get pushed on the interior, and if you get pushed on the interior, you can get batted passes from Andy Dalton. It could result into sacks. On the back end, I'm interested to see how Michael Huff and company matches up versus A.J. Green. We're starting to see Michael Huff more as a corner. If they're going to be able to stop the Bengals passing attack, it's all about taking A.J. Green away, so a lot of it falls on the shoulders of Huff and his ability to win those individual matchups. Now let's move over to the Bengals in this ball game, and you look at the production of BenJarvus Green-Ellis and what he was able to do last week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Rushed for over 100 yards, and if the Bengals can get that type of production from the ground game in their offense, this is going to be a dangerous team moving forward. What I have about the Bengals offense is the pass protection. You got to keep Andy Dalton clean in the pocket, and right now he's taking too many hits and getting sacked a lot. If they can move the pocket for him left to right, give him different launch pad spots, I think that would help alleviate some of the pressure on that offensive line and won't subject him to those vicious hits that he takes throughout the course of a ball game. Defensively for the Bengals, you look at the two defensive ends, Michael Johnson and also Carlos Dunlap. These guys are going to have huge games this week in order for the Bengals defense to have success. Why? You have to set the edge versus the running game, and you also have to provide pressure on Carson Palmer. If they're able to get to Palmer early, Palmer will start to hear footsteps and he will start to get rid of the football quickly, where your linebackers can rally up and make the play. But you look at Dunlap and Johnson having to have huge games in order for the entire Bengals defense to have success. Denarius Moore is an X factor for the Oakland Raiders this week as they take on the Cincinnati Bengals. He's about due for a breakout game, and when you look at the matchups on paper, this could be the game where he can break out. He has the quicks to beat bump press and the hands to make plays downfield. And you look at the X factor for the Bengals, Vontaze Burfict. You have an outstanding fullback, H-back, tailback, wide receiver, tight end, and Marcel Reese. I think it's Vontaze Burfict's job to make sure he's not as effective as he's been throughout the course of the season. Let's look at the personnel breakdown in this ball game, and the big matchup is the passing game of the Bengals versus the secondary of the Oakland Raiders. But quite honestly, the Bengals are one-dimensional in their passing approach. They try to force the football to A.J. Green, so if the Raiders can bracket him and take him out of the ball game, they can have a legitimate chance to limit the effectiveness of what the Bengals want to do through the air. Since it's throwback week at Football Game Plan, we're going to give a shout out to some throwback players for each team. Essex Johnson is my throwback player of the week for the Cincinnati Bengals. You look at 1973, once his carries started to increase, he averaged over 5 yards a carry and almost 1,000 yards, was also an outstanding kickoff and punt returner. Swervin' Mervin Fernandez was a huge star in the CFL and came to the Los Angeles Raiders in 1987 and just continued to put up huge numbers, was a big play threat deep down the field, almost 20 yards a catch. I like the Bengals in this ball game. I look at what I saw last week from both teams. The Bengals were able to run the football with effectiveness. The yards per carry were up, and that's where they need to be. And the Raiders secondary struggled versus New Orleans. Yes, that's the Saints passing attack, but the Bengals do provide some of those same matchup problems, especially down the middle with their tight end Jermaine Gresham. So I look for the Bengals to win this ball game at home. And I want to send a huge shout out to Raider fan forums and Bengal fan forums for always showing Football Game Plan support.